before releasing you to the other rooms, probably will just take 5 minutes questions because Hamouda will not be around for the remaining of the session. I just will start because taking into consideration the theme of this session is mainly focusing on infrastructure. Have you received any business and investment? I think that's the key message this conference is about to make. But also there is still, as to show this commitment, there is part of it about introducing some projects, particularly the projects that the government will be part of it in, and this mainly the infrastructure projects. Can you highlight on some of these projects, if any, just to give our audience an idea?
Obviously, yours is an excellent point. Obviously, the conference is first of all about having people in the Egyptian economy, but it comes with a lot of illustrations based on projects. The project component of this conference is very important, and each sector session is divided into a sector presentation and a sub-session dedicated to projects. Obviously, today, considering the needs of the Egyptian economy and considering the shortages in some of the key infrastructure at large, infrastructure is a major topic of this conference, be it public works, but also energy infrastructure that is important. For the whole economy and for the kickstart of some of the key. So obviously, infrastructure will be the underlying word behind every single session there. There is no special session dedicated to infrastructure, but it's a major component of all the key sectors presented in this conference, including, by the way, the non-sectorial sessions, such as the one dedicated to the Suez Canal corridor. Obviously, there will be a presentation, and Dr. Yahya knows more than I do in this, on the whole master plan and the whole future of this area. But it first relies on a presentation of what are the enabling infrastructure that will help develop economic activities in such a strategic zone. So, to answer your question, infrastructure is probably the motto of this conference. It's through infrastructure that the government will enable private sector investment in the new economic agent.
Any questions before Hamouda leads us?
My name is Marco Ferrioli, and I am the representative of Sarie, the Italian export trade agency. The question is, we understand the conference will be, of course, a tremendous opportunity for the country to present to the world an investment plan, projects, to explain the process, the reforms you are implementing. Actually, what is true is that many projects will depend on funds provided from foreign investors, countries. The question is whether the conference will be also the occasion for the government to commit itself for this kind of financial aspects. I mean, there will be maybe a strategic project where the government will have to commit itself in the budget with the signature of the Ministry of Finance. There will be other projects that maybe you intend to finance through PPP schemes. Nevertheless, maybe the situation of the country is still on a very preliminary stage to structure such kind of PPP facilities. So my question is.
As you may have noticed, the title of this conference is Egypt Economic Development Conference, and by show by economic development is that this is obviously an investor event, but it's also a development event. And by development, it means that there are some developmental needs that will be addressed there. As to your point, obviously the financing issues are key here, and there are some key infrastructure, for example, for which financing needs to be found, and this is not going to be private sector financing, because some of this infrastructure is, to use a technical word, IRR negative. And this is why you have all the international financial institutions that are present there. These institutions are dedicated to that type of investments, the market failure type of investments, and they will be playing a key role in this. Obviously, this does not include all the infrastructure. There are some infrastructure investments that have positive returns, and in which private sector can participate. But for the key infrastructure that doesn't have a positive return and that requires public sector financing, we believe that the presence and the very strong presence of the international financial institutions in this conference is there to address this issue.
Of course, availability of financial institutions is such a big part of them. Of course, we will have the conference, we have lines with the country, and we are ready to support the Italian contract. But of course, what will be very important is to get at the conference a strong commitment from the Egyptian government to support the projects, also on the financial side. Not only to have a list of significant projects that would be very nice to have, but then marketability, financeability, and feasibility, and not only the financing, but all right.
Just let me comment quickly. I think the question is about the availability of funding and the commitment on the Egyptian side in that direction. In other words, because this is again an important issue for the bankability of such projects, particularly when it comes to the infrastructure. And I think the Egyptian government, I'm not talking on behalf of the Egyptian government, but some serious steps have been taken in that direction. For example, in the energy sector, and in relation with the energy sector and renewable energy, the government for the first time has committed itself to the tariffs for the coming 5 years, taking into consideration the foreign exchange risks and other risks. So this was a step forward. Secondly, I'm giving the energy sector as an example. Secondly, there has been a PPP arrangements on a BOT basis or otherwise, whether it's solar or whether on winds, and this has been also done in cooperation with international financial institutions and EBRD to make sure that these are bankable documents. We have already signed that. Part of this, some of these agreements will have the Ministry of Finance guarantee to honor and the obligations of the Egyptian government. I had a discussion, this is not for press, but I had a discussion with the Minister of Finance yesterday, and he was asking me a question indoors, whether it is possible, this is a totally different point, whether it is possible to have in the substance of law prepared a commitment of the Egyptian government not to increase in 10 years. So to that extent, even the government is willing to undertake, because we know that tax certainty is very important in type of these long-term projects. You need to know the taxes will not increase all of a sudden. So I think the part of the conference, the government is going to give this commitment, and more important, to show this commitment is to show bankable documents and enabling legislative framework. And I think this is one of the things they are working on, particularly in the infrastructure projects. And one of the, again, I'm giving an example of the energy sector. It's not the only sector. There has been a new law which about to be promulgated, about to be issued in a few days. electricity sector to make sure that the projects will be bankable, the governments will be, the tariffs will be clear, and all international practices are reflected. So that's, I hope this is part of the discussion. I think this is clear in the minds of the government and will be clear in the conference. I think we have time to take one more question and then we close.
To pick on what you're saying, just to find a word, I think also a very important aspect in this regard is what the central bank has been doing and announcing as well.
There has
So
been.
we can't hear.
Sorry, just to build on what Mr. Sarie-Eldin was saying, I think also another component that is very important is what the central bank has been announcing and doing. As you all have noticed, there has been a slight devaluation in the pound that is very much towards the better alignment of the pound that some of the foreign investors were confronted to. In this regard, it also helps the financing issues and the financial flows of investments to Egypt.
Thank you. I think due to the time, we'll just release you to continue. I will just invite Mr. Mohammed Maher to join us. Now I shall move to our second speaker, Dr. Hassan Fahmy, the chairman of the Investment Authority, GAFI. And this is, I think Dr. Hassan will give us an overview of the investment environment in Egypt and some of the recent activities in that regard. Since I became a moderator, and I think I will not do the speech, I just would like to introduce or underline a message in relation to the investment. Just the situation to give you an idea, in the situation in Egypt in September 2014, in terms of the impediments of investment. And this is based on a report issued by the World Bank in September 2011. If you take the main impediments of investment in Egypt just 6 months ago, 9 months ago, you will find number one impediments was political uncertainty. And the past 9 months, Egypt has gone so far in that direction because at that time there was no elected president, there was no constitution, there was no parliament, and there was no also clear mandate to any government. This has become history now. You have more certainty because now you have an elected president, you have a constitution, clear one, supported by the majority. You have a mandated government, and the election is about to start. Though there are some constitutional hiccups, but I think it's about to start in 22nd of March. Even if there's a delay, it will not be more than a week or so. So by end of April, first week of May, I think the constitutional framework for Egypt will be very solid, very well established, and we will have a parliament, and we will have an elected government by that time. The second impediments at that time was security, and I'm talking about security, not about the issues with the border or Libya, or this is the security in terms of for the business environment. There has been a dramatic improvement in that direction, and I think this is not anymore on the list when it comes to the local security. The third impediment at that time, just 9 months ago, was the lack of macroeconomic policies. There was no clear direction where Egypt is heading to from a macroeconomic policies. Now this is, again, you have clear measures as how to deal with the deficit, with the foreign exchange policies, with the infrastructure, with the investment, with the other issues with the subsidies on the energy. This gave I think the conference will contribute, the coming conference will contribute more to that direction. There has been other issues like tax uncertainty. Again, that has been worked by the government, and now we have clear tax policies, and there might be again a new law in a week time to make it clear where we are heading to, including the VAT application. So that's again will give, it's another improvement on the dealing or handling the tax and the investment impediments. The fifth and final major impediment was the energy and the subsidies. And again, this has been tackled with the government and was one of the first decisions to be taken by the government in that direction. So that's happened only in 9 months. Now we are going back to the investments become the normal ones, see everywhere, and I think they are doable and we can overcome them. One is to do with the bureaucracy, or to do with the construction timelines, takes too long to build a project, and all of these normal things which the government now can handle and is focusing to handle. That's, I think, is just an introduction to Dr. Hassan Fahmi's presentation to just highlight where the investment authority now is focusing on and what you can offer to the investors. Dr. Hassan, please. For one of the issues, do certain reforms, legal reforms. One of them is to improve the rules, and there has been two issues in the investment. One is the concept of the one-stop shop in Egypt, because one of the main impediments for investment in Egypt is the varieties and different authorities that investor hands to you, and sometimes you get into the position where you have a conflict between these periods to get their approvals, the final approvals, so the timeline is still quite long, and this has been the main complaint in different aspects, whether you when you establish a new business or whether you have other things like changing your license or increasing the capital, or different approvals are required. So that's one of the things the government is working and trying to complete before the coming conference. The other main problem, which also the President needs to tackle, is the allocation of lands. That's a big issue in Egypt, allocation of necessary lands. Despite the fact that the investment law itself mandate the government to have zoning for and pricing policies, clear pricing policies, but this has never taken place. So this is again something the government is working on, but I think it will not be ready soon, but at least there will be declared mandate very soon by the President of the government to have the zoning in 3 months' time. So at least there will be a full plan for allocation of lands and the use of these lands and the pricing of these lands, because this again has witnessed difficulty in investment income. There are other amendments proposed for the legal reform to be made, sectorial ones, like the energy, the electricity, the ITC, to simplify the or allow the PPP schemes. The same applied on seaports and dry ports. There has been also some amendments to the company law proposed recently. Even our criminal law, because there has been some impact, particularly the past 4 years, on the investment environment, taking into consideration some minor crimes, we don't have the concept of the liability responsibility of the legal entity itself. So any type of violation of the law it goes after or the chairman or the managing director. That's created a lot of problems and a lot of hiccups for running the daily business. Taking into consideration the real estate business, every single day you have tens of violations to the environments and other things, and you end up with facing criminal charges 10, 20, 30 every year. So was not very helpful in Denmark. This is again some other amendments to be taken. I think the government is about to issue this. So that's again sending a positive message and acknowledgement by the government. There are certain problems that need to be tackled seriously and very quickly. Now I will move to our third speaker, engineer Hussein from Arab Contractors. Arab Contractors is a public company owned by the government. However, it is one of our largest construction companies in Egypt. It has been heavily involved in most of our public works and international and infrastructure projects. Arab Contractors also has a lot of business in Africa and is pioneering this direction. Engineer Hussein will give us some highlights on the new infrastructure projects taking place and Arab Contractors' perspective